Okay, welcome. I am getting ready to interview. Is it Nicholas? Is it Epp?
Nicholas, please.
Just Nicholas. Okay. Or should I say doctor? You're a doctor too. So some people are kind of,
Yeah, I'm very
protective
relaxed.
over their name.
Nicholas is very cool. When you own a PhD, it just shows that you were able to push through some hard years in your life. Make you a better person, but it shows that you know how to suffer properly. So
I
I,
love
I
that.
respect it, but Nicholas is really fine.
Okay. All right, that's cool. Oh, great. Well, and Nicholas, where are you in the world?
I am based in Switzerland, close to
Okay.
Zurich. Yep, originally from Germany, but I moved down here in 2007. And
Okay.
ever since then, I'm living in Switzerland. I have a Swiss passport in the meantime, and I'm very happy here. So,
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, I appreciate you taking the time for this interview and I get an opportunity to ask you some questions about like you have very you've kind of you have a you're sort of a Renaissance person, So how many languages do you speak?
oh, not many. I'm German, English.
Okay.
Um, I speak Swiss German to some extent, which
Okay.
is different than German. I was good in Italian, but use it or lose it, and I haven't spoken it for a while. I would need to refresh. Yeah,
Okay.
but I was
Tell me.
more in. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I just always know to me Europeans and people outside the United States are usually a lot smarter than us because they always seem to know like at least two languages.
Be careful with what you tell yourself. So I wouldn't say that. I mean, lucky enough, your mother tongue is a language that you can speak basically everywhere in the world, which is great. Makes it
Yeah.
very easy to connect and to exchange.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're very kind. So, let's begin. So my friend Karin introduced us. You were doing some work with her, and we did an interview with Karin. She does Site K work, and you had been really helpful for her. And she's like, "You have to talk to my friend Nicholas. He's amazing. He's amazing." And so we have had an opportunity to learn a little bit more about each other and each other's path. But let's for people that are just kind of connecting in, what would you like to say kind of about what has kind of led you to where you are now? I know you did corporate work but you've also I mean, now you're doing so many things with individuals and groups and
Well, what drove me initially was my personal not well-being.
yeah.
So I guess it's true for many of us. I thought I had a good childhood, and but ever since I was 20, I was started looking. I have a natural science background, so I studied chemistry, right? But in
Hmm.
parallel, I looked at psychology. I tried to understand why I'm not happy, why my relationship quality is not great, why I'm just not fulfilled in life, because I thought I look around and everyone else is happy but me.
Hmm.
And over the years, I tried different treatment modalities in my 20s, classical psychotherapy, and I understood better where things might come from, but
Hmm.
it didn't solve, the emotional burden.
Hmm.
And I basically never stopped, I never gave up ultimately. Of course, I had phases where I tried to free myself more,
Hmm.
um, phases where I tried it less, but that was a big driver. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that even the Buddha, they say you hit kind of at some point you sort of hit a bottom and you start looking around and it's like if you're not happy, then you try to start figuring out those reasons, right?
Yeah, and one thing that today I have a different driver. One is I worked so much on my inner peace and I understood so much about peace and that we will not achieve a peaceful world when we don't understand what inner work really means,
Hmm.
because we collectively create this world. Um, and I think actually, you know, there is so much ancient and modern wisdom and knowledge.
Hmm.
Suffering today is not about, the lack of information or the lack of knowledge.
Hmm.
I think it's way more about the confusion about where and how to apply certain tools
Hmm.
and on which level of consciousness.
Mm.
Because we have a whole bucket of great tools, but I think they all work effectively on certain levels of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
We often try to use good tools on levels that are, not on the level of consciousness that they're effective for.
Uh-huh.
And educating about that is something that is another driver because I ran against so many walls, and tried things and thought it's a great thing to do, but wrong level of consciousness.
Wow, that's so interesting. So how would somebody know, like, so they're unhappy or whatever, and they're like trying to figure out, you know, the kind of the steps, or like where would they like initially like see what would be maybe a good step for their level of consciousness?
It's not so much about the personal level of consciousness,
Oh,
but let me take one step back because why experience, why do we experience our life as we experience it?
yeah.
No one has an issue when life is great, right? You
Yeah,
don't think about, I need to improve my life when you are really peaceful, when you're joyful, when you're full of love.
right.
So challenge starts when you experience challenges, when you have a
Yeah.
challenging relationship or when you feel unhappy or whatever. And I think what is first important to understand how or where this perception comes from. And
Mm-hmm.
I often use analogy, computer language analogy.
Uh-huh.
We have a body, we have a physical body with material properties,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a consciousness, we have a mind.
Right.
Our physical body is, I think, very comparable to a hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
Hard drive stores information.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment we are perceived, when our parents like each other a lot and we are perceived and we are just this merged, fertilized cell,
Mm-hmm.
haven't lived a second. But our hard drive that is created in that moment is already full of information.
Mm-hmm.
In the spiritual world, we say it's the ancestry line. In the scientific world, we say it's epigenetics.
Yeah.
Because the genome that merges into our very first cell carries all information from our father and our mother.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of research how our life experiences are stored in our DNA.
Yeah.
And of course, they had parents, our grandparents, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Then we are 9 months plus minus in the womb of our mothers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a biochemical and emotional download onto our hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
We are born into existence, and for the first 2 years, we don't have a sense of identity. We still believe we are our mothers. And it's a download, download, download onto that hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
Beliefs, we copy, we are full in love, and we confuse so many things that we experience with love.
Yeah.
Throughout our childhood till 12, 13, we remain rather unconscious in terms of brain development and our level of consciousness.
Uh-huh.
And everything goes directly to the deep layers of the hard drive. And from 12, 13 on, we start developing our analytical mind and we start conditioning ourselves with our repeated thoughts, cycles that and from there on, we start conditioning ourselves, programming ourselves based on the base data that we have.
Right.
And when we now coming back to how we experience our life,
Mm-hmm.
when we see our life, what does it contain? It's people in there, it's family, it's our job, it's our pets, it's the news. Every layer, every download that we made
Mm-hmm.
onto that hard drive is a filter that we have in front of our eyes that changes our perception.
Right.
And some of them are positive, resourceful, and very helpful. Evolution is a good thing.
Yeah.
But some are limiting and maybe outdated.
Right.
And whenever we don't like something in our outer world,
Uh-huh.
the emotional reaction is happening inside of us. And this emotional reaction indicates, you can call it a trigger, indicates that we have beliefs that are connected to wounds or trauma that
Mm-hmm.
blur our perception.
Yeah.
And the mere understanding of of this picture helps already to transition from victim mode, oh, the bad environment, the bad politics, the partner, the bad parents,
Yeah,
to position where you can start taking ownership for your emotional reaction.
right. Yeah.
And this is, the hard drive, body, our material existence. And there are three distinct, plus minus distinct layers in that hard drive. And the terminology goes back to Freud. There is the conscious part. And I think he never used the analogy with the iceberg, but it's a good analogy.
Yeah.
On top of the waterline, that is the realm of our conscious perception.
Yeah.
You know, everyone who's listening now to this video, that is conscious. You hear what we speak about, and you
Mm-hmm.
have conscious thoughts about it.
Right. Right.
Then directly below the waterline, that's what Freud called the pre-conscious level
Yeah.
of mind.
Mm-hmm.
He said it's the waiting room of our consciousness, and I'm not a Freudian, but I like the terminology, it helps.
Uh-huh.
It's a waiting room of the consciousness where our habituated thoughts, actions, and feelings wait to be rediscovered through observation.
Uh-huh.
So, this is a part of our subconscious world that we can access through self-observation. And then there is a huge part, the biggest part is our subconscious world, that
Uh-huh.
we cannot access through observation nor through analysis. We just see the data that is
Uh-huh.
in there based on how we perceive our environment, our life.
Right.
And then, because it's a lot about energy here, right?
Uh-huh.
To complete the picture, there is, of course, the immaterial realm, the realm
Uh-huh.
of pure consciousness, where we might have our higher self or our souls, depending on how you feel it and how you connect with it.
Yeah.
And of course, the material component happens like in that immaterial field. It's
Mm-hmm.
not connected, it's all connected, not separated, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also something that we cannot tangibly feel or touch. Yet it's another level of consciousness that, and we have certain tools that we can use there. For example, deep meditation,
Uh-huh.
or channeling, whatever you do when you're a psychic or medium, you're very connected with that level of consciousness.
Uh-huh.
Different levels of consciousness carry different information, and the sum of all of it results in how we perceive our world.
Right. Right.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because it's this whole idea around consciousness. Like, I always think of consciousness like, like, my ability to know, like, in the description you were saying, like, when something comes up and it feels off,
Yeah.
my ability not to react, but to observe that I have this feeling,
Yeah.
and to realize that it's there for some reason, but it has nothing to do with whatever I'm looking at or whatever the person is doing. So I'm like, I'm getting more conscious, you know. But it's just kind of interesting. Like, we talk about these different levels, and it's one of those words. It's such a big word, right? Like, like, what is consciousness, right? And so my
Huge.
only way of experiencing it is to say that when I'm less, I won't say less reactive, but when I'm more internally my observation is more aware, then I'm more conscious.
And that makes sense, I think.
Yeah.
And you ask also, why why is this understanding important when you want to improve your life?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
this is for
Yeah.
many
Yeah. Yeah.
people
Yeah.
the driver.
Right.
Because and now when we have this picture that okay, there is the realm of the field, the spiritual realm, the higher self,
Yeah.
there's a conscious mind, pre-conscious and subconscious level of mind.
Uh-huh.
Your life experience is a sum of all of those levels. And what you can do now, for example, many people, they practice deep meditation. They disconnect from their body, they go into nothingness, they
Mm-hmm.
go to the field, and then they work on a field level
Mm-hmm.
to, understand, transform, resolve that life situation that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Or all aspects of manifestation. I would like to manifest better health. I like to manifest a life partner. I want to manifest abundance.
Mm-hmm.
And deep meditation is, when you can do it properly, a very good tool to work from the field.
Yeah.
Many people that do deep meditations underestimate what it means when they leave the meditative state.
Mm.
Because when you leave the meditative state, you come back to the material world.
Right.
And in the material world, different physics apply, different rule sets apply, different levels
Uh-huh.
of consciousness are relevant. And many people in everyday life, they use a lot their analytical mind, for example, to understand where things might come from and to explain an emotional burden.
Mm-hmm.
This is an example for using a good tool, the analytical mind, in a not great way because the emotional burden comes usually from the deep subconscious world.
Mm-hmm.
The analytical mind cannot reach that level.
Mm-hmm.
For when you really want to work on deep subconscious levels, there are different methodologies. There's, for example, variations or the approach of family constellation. There is, everything that's connected with the body is basically also work on the subconscious system.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Forms of hypnosis. You mentioned earlier, Karin, and the work that I do in my private practice works on that level.
Uh-huh.
Was, by the way, my personal game changer into the trajectory I'm on now. You
Uh-huh.
know, because I tried to solve so much with my head and understand and where do things come from, but it didn't solve anything.
Yeah.
And when you really can work 3D deep down in the iceberg, then you can really induce transformation
Right.
in in the subconscious, in the matter.
Nicholas, is that what you saw? Like, I know early on in your your career before you became more of a consultant and one-on-one sort of person, you were working in, was it the cancer research area?
Yeah, in my early days, when I did my PhD and a postdoc, I worked at the Cancer Research Center.
Yeah.
Um, I did a lot of skin research, partially
Interesting.
connected to malignancies, but
Uh-huh.
rather basic medical research on some skin conditions.
Yeah. Did you notice with when you were kind of in that realm, did you notice the aspect of like stress or emotion or like correlations outside of, just what was presenting itself on a physical level with people?
I was not thinking about, I was not even close to thinking about that back then.
Okay, that's interesting. I was thinking
Um,
that maybe part of that came into where you are now.
well, I studied chemistry and a lot of quantum mechanics.
Yeah,
So that helps me certainly now to explain my private clients, but also in a corporate setting, what it means that everything is energy.
right.
Because my advantage today is that I can talk with people that, say spirituality is hocus pocus.
Yeah,
I can
voodoo.
still explain to them that everything is energy and what it means, without using any spiritual words. And so that's interesting.
Yeah,
Another thing was that stuck me back then already was, epigenetics was when I did my PhD rather new. The
yeah.
concept that our environment influences our genes.
Hmm.
And, a friend of mine led a research group back then, and she did a research, and they investigated whether or not the presence of high voltage energy mass,
Hmm.
would have influence on cancer risk.
Hmm.
And what I
Interesting.
found, what I found was, yes, it had, but only if the people knew that this mass was there.
Interesting. Yeah.
They could live,
Wow.
they put a big mast on the rooftop, but if they didn't know about it, there was no influence on their health.
Yeah.
And so since then, I got, well, remembering that I'm mindful with, it's not our environment that changes our genes.
Yeah.
No, maybe, of course, it's a little, it shouldn't be that absolute because when we live in a very environment full of toxins or bad air quality, that impacts our health, of course, as well in our genes.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
way more our perception of our environment.
Right. Yeah.
And it's when we talk about consciousness, it's so often about the perception, and
Yeah.
where we focus on, where our focus is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've talked
So
too about stress. So that plays into it as well, right? Are we
it
creating
does.
our own stress then, I guess?
It does, and I wrote a research paper with a business school here about the impact of unconscious stress on individuals and organizations. And what I really realized after being 15 years in the corporate world,
Yeah.
stress is probably one of the most abused and misused words in our world.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's, regardless if I'm presenting in front of students or the same thing that I did when I was as a panelist at the World Economic Forum. I ask people, hey, were you stressed this week? And then people go, yeah, I experienced stress, super stressful, super stressed.
Yeah.
And so, okay, tell me your adventurous story. I go, like
Yeah.
what? Where was the predator? Were you robbed? Did you survive a natural disaster? And then everyone laughs and say, yeah, I see that. How do you want to treat something when you don't understand the root cause?
Right.
Stress is nothing more and nothing less than a biological life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
You have a mammalian body that, you know, evolved over millennials and lived in harsh environments.
Yeah.
And you have a beautiful dog, right? Your dog has a very similar autonomic nervous system than we have.
Yeah. That's true.
And again, like a computer, it's a binary system.
Mm-hmm.
We have two modes that we work on. When we are relaxed, when your dog is on the sofa, belly up and cuddle me a little,
Yeah.
yeah, that's called flow. Our
Yeah.
parasympathetic nervous system is activated. We are
Yeah.
relaxed.
Yeah.
And when the switch flips to the sympathetic nervous system, that is stress. And the original idea of the stress response was that it is triggered when there is a life-threatening or dangerous situation in our outer world.
Yeah. Survival mode.
Survival mode. It's a
Yeah.
biological insurance. And the challenge that we face as humans is we activate the stress response all day long. Because stress doesn't mean I have that's the one big misconception. Stress doesn't mean I have a lot to do. I have tight deadlines. Stress
Mm-hmm.
means having a non-positive emotion. Whenever we don't feel well, when we are anxious, when we are jealous, when we are complaining, when we feel bad, when we are sad, when we're angry, when we're frustrated, biologically, our body is in survival mode.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do that we are stupid or not intelligent because it is orchestrated, a stress response from a region of the brain that has nothing to do with our intelligence.
Right.
The only difference between us and animals is that we have a further developed brain. We are very creative. We have a very developed frontal lobe. And
Mm-hmm.
we don't need a predator. Our imagination is strong enough to signal our autonomic nervous system at this is a threatening situation. My one-on-one with the manager, the traffic jam, the bad politician. And
Mm-hmm.
then we create a picture of ourselves that suggests that we need to be angry or frustrated or jealous or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And our body creates the biochemistry that makes us feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And the tricky part is that cortisol, one of the stress hormones, is addictive.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, it's so much common sense. When we need to survive, what
Yeah.
does the body
Yeah.
energy?
Right.
You need
Right.
to have a lot of energy. So
Yeah.
what does the body do? It creates hormones that ramp up the whole system.
Uh-huh.
Biological changes are your heart rate goes up because your muscles need more oxygen.
Uh-huh.
Right. And at the same time, because the body is very energy efficient, it shuts down the energy that is not for systems that are not needed for immediate survival.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Immune system, digestive system, reproductive system.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes with behavioral changes. You have a narrow focus. You don't trust. You want love to micromanage. You are hesitant to change.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going a little bit off tangent. Coming back to the addictive component.
Uh-huh.
When you when you look at your dog is stressed maybe two, three times a day.
Yeah.
Neighbor slams the door, then he goes like, "Oh, shit, I need to protect her." Yeah.
Right.
And he realizes that there's nothing. And then it takes 1, 2 minutes until he's going back to cuddle mode.
Yeah.
That is how long the cortisol usually prevails.
Okay.
Very
Mm-hmm.
short amount of time.
Yeah.
But we kept inducing that reaction over and over, and our body got used to that alert state. It's like when
Mm-hmm.
you constantly take drugs and that becomes your normal feeling of self.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And the only, I mean, I'm really a big advocate for working on the deep subconscious. But in everyday life, we keep inducing the stress response over and over and over and over again by our own thoughts.
Uh-huh.
And that's our normal body feeling. And when we really want to improve and change,
Yeah.
then the rehab starts.
Uh-huh.
I mean, maybe this is very relatable. When people realize, hey, I want to have a more calm life, I want to be more present, then many say, okay, I start meditating. And then they sit, want to go to silent. And what many experience is they can calm down a little bit for maybe 20, 30, 40 seconds.
Uh-huh.
The body stops producing cortisol. The body doesn't feel comfortable with this new feeling.
Uh-huh.
And then the thought train starts.
Oh, interesting.
That is the body telling the brain, hey, brain, I like my cortisol. I need more cortisol. Give it to me.
Wow. I never really thought about any of this.
Yeah,
That's
we
interesting.
it's very basic, simple concepts
Yeah.
that run our everyday life.
One of the things I was, and maybe it's relatable or related, but not, was my observation with people who grew up in environments where it was more violent, and I've watched people almost like try to start a fight with somebody like, and I didn't think of the cortisol level. I just thought, like they're kind of used to growing up in a combative sort of environment. So they want to create, it's almost like subconsciously or consciously, or I guess assume it's subconsciously, because why would you really want that, to create a combative environment as an adult with other people?
Yeah. You know that expression, the man is a creature of habit.
Yeah.
And it's another term like stress that we use very often or that we think we are aware of what it really means, but I guess
Uh-huh.
we aren't. A habit is it's a biological mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever we do very often, we get very good at.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way how we learn. You can observe a toddler. Toddler tries to get up 10,000 times, and at one point he figures it out more and more, and
Mm-hmm.
then he
Yeah.
and when we go to school, you start learning a language.
Yeah.
You need to learn vocabulary and grammar, and it's very hard, and it consumes a lot of your thinking brain power.
Uh-huh.
And the more you repeat it, you
Uh-huh.
don't have to think about it anymore. And at some point, you can speak French or Italian or German or English.
Yeah.
And it's great because then your brain and body internalize that knowledge
Uh-huh.
and it starts functioning in a non-conscious way.
Right.
Driving is another example. When for all
Yeah.
the people who drive, being a bicycle or bike or car, at the beginning, first driving lesson, very intense. You need to, be
Yeah.
mindful of so many things. But today you jump in the car and you do everything but consciously driving.
Right.
And now coming back to conscious, preconscious, and subconscious and what it means, but you could observe yourself while you drive.
Right.
You would realize, oh, I'm thinking, hey, there's a traffic sign. It reads 60. and I'm have 70 on the display, so I need to operate the brakes, you know? You
Yeah,
could, your body does it automatically, but you could observe yourself what thoughts and actions you display and what you have.
right, right.
That is self-observation. That's everyday awareness.
Yeah,
And the reason why I'm telling this is because when we are a creature of habit, our day basically, especially when it's not solid research around it, but around when we are mid-30s,
yeah,
our day is basically a sequence of micro habit after micro habit after micro habit.
yeah,
You wake up, you hear the birds chirping, you have good association with it, you feel happy, you're good, you're in flow.
yeah,
Because you did it every morning, you pick up your cell phone, you see there's a text from your manager, and it comes with a lot of, exclamation marks, and you say, okay, your mood drops.
right.
Immediately you're in stress. You haven't even read the text properly. But
Yeah,
you expect that it has to be something bad, which is also an habituated reaction. And when we accept that we go through our day, and we are driven mainly by our habituated reactions to our environment, the logic consequences that we don't realize what's going on.
uh-huh.
We have, and
Yeah,
I work with very intelligent people and with super psychic Karen. She's so connected to the field.
yeah,
Yet, when you don't train to observe yourself in everyday life, you are super unconscious in everyday life.
right, right,
Not because it's difficult, it's just because it's like a skill to learn and to practice.
right, right. Yeah. Yeah, I've got friends that I remember when we first started talking about some of this, and it may be relatable, it may not be, but it's sort of like, and they're a couple, but they said every couple months they switch the side of the bed they sleep on, and they sometimes brush their teeth with a different hand, like just trying to break up the some of the habitual nature of, their day or their sleep patterns or things like that.
I would ask them what drives them, what's the motivation? Because personally, I don't think there's anything bad with habits and with habituated.
Yeah.
I love that I don't have to learn every day how to brush my teeth from the scratch. What about that mechanism? I love that I know how to
I
drive.
just love you, Nicholas. This is
I
great.
love that I know how to cook some food or to operate a computer. I love it. I love that
Right,
trust
right.
me, it was hard for me to learn English. I had terrible teachers at school, and during my PhD, I took a private teacher to learn English. I was really bad
Your
with
English
languages.
is great. Yeah.
Thank you. So it's not about that it's rather about what kind of habituated reactions have you cultivated. So,
Okay.
for example, I think in the US it's very polarized, the politics. So many might see a picture of Trump and they go like, "Oh my God,"
Yeah,
or
yeah,
vice
yeah.
versa.
Yeah.
This is a habituated reaction.
Yeah.
Whenever you allow, and every wisdom teaching is about this, whenever
Uh-huh.
you allow something or someone in your outer environment to influence you in a non-positive way,
Yeah.
then you are victim, strong word, but you lose your self ownership. Then your emotional state is influenced by that situation or person.
Right.
And again, why? Because you have subconscious patterns and filters that you're not aware of, but that make you perceive that situation in an inappropriate way.
Yeah.
You have a condition component.
Yeah.
Condition component, we could say it's an habituated component. And when
Yeah.
I said I wrote about unconscious stress, that is for me unconscious stress. It is a habit that we cultivated that reacts on whatever trigger in the outer world, is connected to thoughts that we have about that situation,
Yeah.
behaviors that we display, and that we got so good because we repeated it so many times that it just runs when the trigger comes.
Yeah.
And we don't even realize it often as stress because it is our familiar feeling of self.
Right.
No, it's a little bit like drinking. When you
Uh-huh.
drink alcohol, and you're used to a certain level of alcohol, then you can drink a beer, a glass of wine, but you don't feel the alcohol.
Right.
Yet your body has to deal with it.
Right.
And this is like unconscious stress. Your sympathetic nervous system is switched on, but you don't even realize that you're slightly feeling guilty or that you're upset because it's your baseline.
Yeah.
What we feel is then when we really drink too much, when we are drunk, when we get
Uh-huh.
really, it's an outburst.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't mean that we are always well when we are not in an outburst, acute high trigger moment.
Uh-huh.
And that is very tricky because that ruins any manifestation, that ruins any healing, and that ruins our everyday life.
Yeah. Is that
And
how is that related to the what's called cognitive dissonance? Is uh is that a way that we're dealing with a perceived stress, like something different in our environment, like we can't assimilate it as is that a way of protecting ourselves?
it can be
I was just
when
curious when because you
when and
mentioned politics and so and these different things in our environment and I've experienced cognitive dissonance, so I'm like, was that a way of making
the
myself feel
question
better?
maybe we develop strategies. We inherit strategies from our parents,
Yeah,
and we are little. I think what I often talk through with my clients is what is really the big difference between being a kid and being an adult.
yeah,
When you're a kid, you're dependent and powerless.
yeah,
You can't just walk away.
right,
And when you're little, you don't even have an analytical mind to flee from your feelings in your mind, in your head.
right.
That's why many people overthink because they feel less at the same time.
Uh-huh,
As a kid, one of the few tools that you have to cope with the huge emotional distress that you're exposed to often is to kind of detach,
uh-huh,
to encapsulate that trauma, that wound, and of course you keep carrying it, but you build walls around it and you dissociate from it, that you don't
uh-huh,
have to feel it, but still it's inside of you.
right.
That's very interesting. When you have any argument, let me draw.
Yeah, and don't let me forget, I want to get back to and maybe it kind of ties in
Yeah,
because family constellation, which is one of the areas that or tools, I don't know how you want to describe it, that you work in. And I left my career and moved to South Africa when I in 2012. And there was a woman there that I met near the place where I was staying who did family constellation work. And when
yeah.
she talked about it, she was a psychiatrist and she talked about she had these little figures in her car and stuff like that. And I remember when she talked about it, I was like, what the heck is family constellation work? Like I pictured they were on the beach. She said there was a group of them on the beach, and I was just like, and I thought of the stars, and I was just like, and I wasn't uh confident or whatever enough to go, I have no idea what that means. What are you talking about? So at some point, let's track back to family constellation, or if there's a way to weave it in with what you're going to explain now, I'd be really
Yeah,
I want to understand that more because I
and
think it's
I
very
do.
powerful and a lot of people talk about it in a very powerful way, but I don't know a
It
lot
is,
about it, and there may be people watching this that don't know what it means.
and I'm very happy to circle back to it.
Okay.
And this is probably the most sophisticated drawing that you've ever seen.
There's a
The
lot
green
going on there. I can tell
the,
that.
the green circle symbolizes one person,
Okay.
and this X here that I drew a circle around is
Yeah.
a detached wound or trauma.
Okay.
The red circle is another person that you have an interaction with.
Yeah.
And very often, when you get really pissed about another person,
Yeah.
you project your detached trauma
Mm-hmm.
subconsciously onto that person. And because
Mm-hmm.
the pain is so big that you haven't resolved it yet, you can't bear it for yourself,
Yeah.
but it shows that you project it into the other person, and then you have to attack it very hardly, very, very intensely.
Yeah.
And this is how, I mean, you can't generalize this, but this is often how, in a strong emotional reaction or argument,
Yeah.
our detached aspects show up.
Yeah. How do you, I mean, is this where the being the level of consciousness comes in where you realize that you're thinking that person has done something that's actually your wound, that you actually can see it? Because most people, I mean, my experience is you, even for myself, sometimes I can't see it, unless somebody that I trust says, oh, what about like, is that any way tied to you? And then the first time that happened, I was like, what? And then you have to be conscious enough, I guess, to decide to explore that.
I think it has different steps. One, I think it helps a lot and it's very empowering when people understand that they have the responsibility for their emotional reaction.
Right.
A picture that I really like is I heard it, I think, from a Buddhist monk talking on YouTube. I forgot the name. He made an analogy like, we humans, we are like oranges.
Mm-hmm.
When you squeeze an orange, when you put pressure on an orange, what do you
Mm-hmm.
get? What comes out?
Orange juice.
Orange juice.
Yeah.
Why? Because the orange juice is already in the orange.
Right.
Now, what happens when you put a person under pressure? Being it through a picture of a politician, a traffic jam,
Yeah.
tough conversation at work,
Yeah.
only comes out of that person what is already inside of that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so true. And when we talk about energy and resonance, it's
Mm-hmm.
like another picture that I use in my practices. Picture that you have basically endless tuning forks inside of you.
Uh-huh.
And all of those tuning forks are beliefs. And the downloads that I mentioned earlier are
Mm-hmm.
your resources and your limits at the same time.
Yeah.
Then you have your outside environment. And whatever vibrates here, whatever kind of information comes in, your tuning forks interpret that information.
Right. Right.
You react to it. And
Yeah.
also, to be clear, it is so important that taking ownership for the own emotional reaction doesn't mean that you're not allowed to set boundaries or say
Mm-hmm.
no to, toxic behavior or to harmful environments.
Uh-huh.
But yet, the emotional reaction, when you have it, is it's always my recommendation, very worthwhile to look at and to
Mm-hmm.
explore the different tools on different levels of consciousness not where to transform it. You don't
Yeah.
need necessarily to understand where it comes from, but it's important to transform it.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow,
Yeah.
because we very traumatized society. And I got very humbled on my journey to understand how much misbeliefs and wounds I carry. And
Yeah.
many I haven't experienced in my lifetime.
Uh-huh.
Yes, when classical psychology talks about transgenerational trauma. And the mean part about being human is it is not relevant who caused the wound. This is
Right.
again, oh, I wanted I ran around 30 years in my life, wanted my dad to see what he did to me when I was little.
Uh-huh.
It's 30 years of madness because
Right.
even if I saw it, it wouldn't heal my wound. I need to take care of it.
Yeah.
So ta- it's a hard pill to swallow because often we like to see that that person who did that to us takes responsibility. And they
Right.
have the responsibility for what they did,
Yeah.
but they do not have the responsibility to heal the wound.
Right.
It is so important and rightful that it is that way. Imagine we would be dependent on other individuals for our healing.
Yeah. It's definitely empowering to take care of yourself that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you when you work with a client, like how do you what do you do? Like, and do you just talk about like what their concern is and then
Yep.
um just kind of go from there, and then you've got these different tools like family constellation or whatever, like other tools to
Yeah.
help them see what's going on? to and figure out a way to release it?
Yeah. And to be clear, I really like family constellation and I can talk to it, but I'm not a facilitator of it. But what
Oh,
I do in
okay.
my private practice is very similar from the
Oh,
energetic principle.
okay. All right. So you developed your own technique?
Yeah, I learned it as well, but it resonates a lot with me,
That's cool.
And um, yes, it always starts with, I ask my clients, okay, what's annoying you? What
Yeah,
is right now today difficult? Because, and we know this from every wisdom teaching again, there is only now.
right.
So when we are able to verbalize what annoys us, what worries is, what is the burden today, now,
Yeah,
then basically we are already at the right spot to understand what is ready to be looked at.
yeah.
Throughout our lifetime, we developed, think of an onion, we developed so many protective layers.
Uh-huh.
And it's like in chemistry. In chemistry, only the outer electrons react. And like
Yeah,
in personality development, it's our outer shell that interacts with the environment.
right.
That shell we can work. And in my one-on-one work, it is not about, analytical understanding, or I don't ask question, okay, how does this relate to your mother? Or how was your relationship with your parents?
Right.
It's not using the analytical mind.
Yeah,
People tell me about their stress. And then and this was part of the training, this is when my energetic part comes in. I feel into that.
yeah.
And then I get information, about emotions, about maybe beliefs. And what
Mm-hmm.
I then do is I write words or statements on papers.
Mm-hmm.
And the client has no idea what I write on the paper. No chance for the analytical mind. And in the second part of the session, I put the papers one by one after the other, on the floor, writing facing down.
Mm-hmm.
And then the client steps on the paper. And this is something very similar to family constellation, where you stand there and are a representative of a topic or a person.
Mm-hmm.
But it is about a statement on a
Yeah.
piece of paper.
Give me
And
an
then
example, like a statement. What would be an
statement, it,
example?
it, it could be, I love myself, my inner
Okay.
child. It really depends on the situation and the concern.
Yeah.
I'm a good father. I miss my father. I'm allowed to feel shame.
Mm-hmm.
Then the client is, closes their eyes and describes what comes up. And the range goes from nothing,
Uh-huh.
starting to cry heavily and, you know, go on the knees on the paper.
Wow. Oh, I got chills.
and every and it's always, it has a very high level of accuracy. It's a little like microsurgery,
Uh-huh.
and there's no right or wrong. And you
Yeah.
can picture that the information on the paper is like a radio station,
Uh-huh.
and the body is like a radio receiver, and
Uh-huh.
depending on what conditionings you have, you interpret that information from the paper in your individual way.
Yeah.
And I write down everything what the client says on the paper.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it's one word, nothing, seldomly, which also has a meaning. And sometimes I write a full page.
Oh, wow.
And then in the third part of the session, I reread to the client what the client said on paper one, and then I reveal it.
Hmm.
And a couple of things happen in that process. First, in a nutshell, the things that annoy us in our life are subconsciously very stabilizing, usually positive associated.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the things we would really like to have, but we don't have, subconsciously, they're very negatively associated.
Mm-hmm.
Because our in 3D life, not talking about the field, where you manifest from the field, where you create from the field,
Yeah.
but in 3D, our perception is to 99 plus percent shaped by our subconscious beliefs.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
It's very counterintuitive.
Yeah.
That's why in my life, I don't analyze anymore where things come from when I have a trigger. I know that there is something, and I
Right.
know that analytical mind, even if with a small probability it might guess right, it will not transform it.
So how do you
So
like for yourself as that example? Like how would you, I don't know, like you get upset at a family member or whatever, and you're
yeah,
like, oh, I'm upset. I don't know the origin, and I'm not going to engage my analytical mind to find the origin. So, like for an example, what would you do? Would you do
I
you have
would
a do
do,
you have somebody you consult with, or is there a
yeah,
technique you can use on your own?
combination of it. Maybe let me just finish
Oh, I'm
what
sorry, I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt
no,
you.
no, because I think it's important, and then I transition to your
Okay.
second question. You know, it's very common that people stand on a paper
Uh-huh.
that reads, I love myself and feel miserable.
Yeah.
Live in their everyday perception, they think I'm full of self-love, I'm fine,
Uh-huh.
you know? But we are so multi-layered. I often say to my clients, we're like a beautiful mosaic,
Right.
but many stones are misplaced. Not
Yeah.
all, but many, especially those that are connected to our everyday stresses.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's only logical that positive statements are often, people feel very bad on those papers.
Yeah.
And on the other side, shame or, emotional violence is love, or abuse is love. Many people, especially with relationship problems, stand on those papers and it's party.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
The things that we experience is very challenging in our life. Subconsciously are, generally speaking, very positive or
This
stabilizing
should be part of a
associated.
dating app. Where you can say, when
You
you
know,
sit
we
on this
can we
paper,
can we
what felt good to you? So
The
interesting.
interesting part about relationship dynamics is, because partners mirror each other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at some point, I wanted to make a movie with, where you have a split screen and you
Yeah.
see 5% of the screen is the conscious conversation.
Yeah.
I did so much work and now I really want to have a conscious partner. Yeah, me too. And it's so important that we talk about everything.
Yeah.
So aligned and so in love. And subconsciously, the
Yeah.
unresolved patterns, uh, abuse is love. I love to be ignored, and on the
Yeah.
other side, I project my mother wounds, I will take revenge on her, and they make a party, And that's the caveat when you have a strong resonance with someone, because it
Yeah.
means that mainly your subconscious beliefs go in resonance
Yeah. Yeah.
and attachment. That's why relationships are such a great field to develop from.
Right. Right.
Because, the people that are closest to us show us our biggest wounds. So parents, it's
Yeah.
kids, partners.
Yeah. I have a friend who's a dating coach, and she said when a client says, I met somebody and they feel like home, she's like, no, no.
And
Go out with the other person.
we can certainly talk about how, yeah, that's, and trust me, I grew a lot the hard way also through relationships. And I worked very much on my inner connection to myself, and I'm very grateful to have a very beautiful relationship today.
That's awesome.
Um, but you when you have a conscious couple, both can use this big times to develop further.
Right.
Life happens in everyday life, and when you know that when you are triggered and when you have an argument, that this
Yeah.
is not you, but this is unresolved trauma.
Yeah.
And for example, you can easily shift the conversation from, why didn't you empty the dishwasher again? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
To, hey, I feel, I feel really not seen here.
Uh-huh.
And then you change the focus from whatever it is, how it shows in everyday life, to the emotional burden and wound,
Yeah.
and can tackle it with the appropriate tools.
Yeah. That's
That
cool.
is the difference between a growth relationship and a destructive relationship pattern.
Right.
But both, I think, need to understand the structured layer of consciousness, where
Yeah.
triggers come, and then, they understand the tools how to navigate them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting too, like Because the you'd mentioned hypnosis earlier, and I'm kind of a fan of Marissa Peer, and I've watched a lot of her things and have a lot of her different meditations and stuff. And she goes back to the sing around I love myself, or I am enough, like there's a core that most people do not feel they're enough or that they don't love themselves. And that can show up in relationships, but it also can show like the person could be incredibly successful in one area of their life, but not in other areas. And it can be this core thing around the I am enough, or, I love myself. So when you're working with a client like that, like, and they stand on that paper and it's just like because it comes to it's not what I'm experiencing, Nicholas, is in your work you're very intuitive, and your whole system is processing a lot of stuff when you're working with a client, and you
Right.
get either a message or a feeling, or there's just a knowing that this is an area that the person could benefit by connecting in with somehow. And so you write whatever that is on the paper, on these different pieces of paper, right? And then the person stands on it and actually connects in. This is the energy part, right? Connects in with that resonance, that energy, and then emotes or displays, like either has nothing in the display or maybe gets really happy or really sad. And that's a real reflection of what's happening on that bottom part of the iceberg that you described, right?
Related.
And then so let's say we get to that part with the I love myself or I'm in enough or whatever that is, right? And the person cries or whatever, right? They're not like, or they just, you can tell that they don't love. I mean, that's very common. Most people are like that, right? So I think, and I've had different experiences where we actually did a Psych K exercise with Bruce Lipton at a retreat around I love myself. And anyway, so like so what do you, I mean, for that person, is it always different, or they're different? Like, how would you in your practice then decide to work with that from a not it sounds like most of the stuff is not then non-analytical, right? Like,
Absolutely not analytical because the analytical mind doesn't solve emotional trauma.
okay, great.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have kids, but I often use this analogy to make it tangible.
Oh, I just saw 333.
Our emotional wounds, our
Yeah.
emotional wounds are, think about inner child, it is inner child wounds, either
Yeah.
inherited or from our whole childhood. And when you picture a little kid that fell on the floor on the playground and is crying,
Mm-hmm.
no one would go to that kid and tell that kid, look, the floor has a certain mechanical rigidity, and you applied kinetic force by falling, and your skin has a lower mechanical rigidity than the floor. That's why your skin ruptured. And because you have blood vessels, you're bleeding. That would, no one would do this. But
Right.
that's the analogy to, oh, I feel sad. Where does this come from?
Right.
I have done so much work. Maybe it's from my mother. It doesn't work. That's what I mean with using appropriate tools,
Yeah.
appropriate level of consciousness. Emotional trauma usually deep subconscious realm.
Yeah.
Analytical
Interesting.
mind's not that world, not a tool for it. And here, by standing on the papers, by being exposed to what there, it's basically you give to the subconscious a voice. You give the subconscious a voice.
Uh-huh.
And through the whole process, and yes, it's happening in an energetic space as well, there's a process induced
Mm-hmm.
and order is created. It's like that part of the subconscious that we look at in one session is picture a dark room in the basement. And then you
Yeah.
switch on, and this switching on the light allows, and there's also the higher self, there's a bigger order, helps that order is created.
Hmm.
And that's again very similar to family constellation, where you just do this in a group setting and the representatives in the group verbalize what they feel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you give the subconscious, the non-tangible information slash energy a voice, and
Mm-hmm.
it becomes conscious. And yeah, it is just that. and the changes that then occur afterwards or induced immediately when you're on the papers, they can have an immediate effect on your life. Sometimes it needs a little bit preparation. We talked about Karen. Karen is always like, she has a session and then 2 days later, I did this and that's not a problem anymore. It's a very immediate
Yeah,
effect, but it doesn't have to be like this. Yeah, but
yeah,
usually people are very psychic and connected.
yeah,
It's more immediate.
yeah.
But
Just
the,
from the
the
observation.
observation of whom, from whom?
So like they're on the paper and they
Yeah,
have they start crying and it's around, I don't know, I love myself or whatever you've written down.
yeah.
And so energetically, like, are you saying like they turn the
It does.
paper over and it's like, oh, and then do they talk about it? I mean, we don't talk about we don't, like you said about like not using the analytical mind, but is it
For
just the realization then that helps
and
move
usually,
that energy?
usually when I reread what the client said and then the client reads what's on the paper, you know, very often it resonates a lot. And
Yeah,
when something resonates with you, it's also something that you cannot explain logically, analytically, but you
yeah,
feel. And this is the process of orders being created in your subconscious world.
yeah,
And when you have more order in your subconscious world,
yeah,
you have a different perception of your everyday life. It's never
right.
about changing the everyday life. But when you have an altered, changed, improved, more healed perception of your everyday life, you see different opportunities. You can act differently.
Yeah,
And I always say, I love it. And yes, you asked earlier, for 7 years, I'm standing on papers. I stood on maybe thousands of papers
yeah.
because I just wanted to know how deep goes the rabbit hole. No, I'm very
Interesting.
happy in my life, but I take the slightest trigger. I'm very mindful with where do I react emotionally
Yeah,
because I know there's a part inside of me that's still in fear.
yeah,
Because spiritually speaking, it's love or fear.
yeah,
And I want to see what my system comes up with when I'm more and more in love and less in fear.
yeah.
Drives me today.
That's
One
cool.
another. Um, yeah, and I always say it's probably the most lazy approach for personality development because you just have to come to the session, you stand on the papers, and then you trust the process and allow your subconscious to
Right.
be more in order.
Yeah.
And then,
As an observation, I'm going to say that based on your energy,
Mhm.
is there's something probably very powerful in being recognized, having that, whatever that belief is, or that, that subconscious belief or whatever, visible, but being seen by you and seen by the person. And that helps with the integration or the neutralization of that.
Yes, I would agree. That's why in that space, when you go, I don't know, when you go to McDonald's or Burger King, you get a Big Mac the same way everywhere on this planet. You know?
Hopefully.
But when you go to facilitate, hopefully, but when you go to facilitators that work in that space and rather the untangible space,
Yeah,
of course, it has always a lot to do with the facilitator's energy.
yeah.
And biggest part of, you know, my journey of being trained in doing that work was being a client of that work
Okay.
because the less the more triggers you resolve, the more clearer is your perception of your environment.
Yeah,
It's the same principle why, people that study psychology have to do supervision and a psychological therapy because it's a similar approach, right? You need to manage your projections. Otherwise, you project your worst trauma onto your client.
right. Interesting. Yeah,
Same true for people who work in the energetic space.
yeah,
And yeah, so certainly it has a component, and but for everyone who works in that space, that's why it's very hard to say I do family constellation or do a work like that because
yeah.
it's different
It's
for
totally
different.
customized by the person, right?
Yeah, and I think it's I really like it. because it goes really deep. And
Yeah.
s- stuff from epigenetics comes up. Me with a German ancestry line on my life journey. I resolved so much war trauma that was stored in my body,
Wow, that's
even though,
interesting.
yeah, we
Yeah.
live in a hugely war traumatized world.
Yeah.
And my dad's born 43. His first childhood memory is being in a bomb shelter in Fürth, German city, and everyone screaming in agony. And of course, that does something with a 2 year old. And we had a generation all over Europe and other parts of the world that had a childhood that was a lot about survival and no space for emotions.
Yeah.
And those
Yeah.
people were then our parents.
Right.
No surprise that we have challenges with emotional connection to ourselves, to self-love, to acceptance.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, it's
not only
interesting.
our lifetime. This is by far, and there's more and more research clearly showing the transgenerational war and other
Do they
trauma.
say like it's 7 generations or something? I don't know how they've come up with these with with the number. I remember I did a transformational breath work weekend with Judith Kravitz, and it wasn't holotropic, but it was very similar. And we were doing a breathwork practice, and my parents, who were alive at the time, came in and apologized to me, which I was just like, I was kind of totally blown away. And then my great grandparents on my grandmother's side, who had only seen photos of, because they died before I was born, came in and thanked me because they said the work I was doing was helping their generation heal. And I was just
Amazing.
like, what? Because it wasn't something I'd ever heard of before, like so now I've heard more of that, and you're talking about it too, like this whole because everything is a lot of it's energy, right? And they'll even say our cells, the DNA, you can see past generations in our cells with DNA. And I think if they could look forward, they'd see future generations in our cells too with DNA. But yeah, it makes sense, right? So it's
There's
so
so much.
interesting, like, and so my impression is that when somebody works with you, you're getting a lot of impressions,
Yeah,
energetic impressions from
yeah.
past life or
And it's relevant.
generational information, and
Yeah,
um,
can come
that's
up. And
cool.
it comes up from the people as well.
Yeah.
It can be very well that people stand on a piece of paper that
Uh-huh.
has nothing to do necessarily with war, let's say, but they have war imagery.
Oh, interesting.
This is how it shows, or very old imagery, like past life, probably.
Yeah.
And when you
Yeah.
think it through, and I really got so humbled in accepting how unconscious we are in our everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
Any matter is made up of energy when you zoom in.
Uh-huh.
When I studied chemistry at school, it was still like protons and neutrons and electrons are the smallest particles. But then science advanced and we understood we can zoom in more and more and more.
Yeah.
When you zoom in, then any particle is mathematically described as a wave function, as frequency.
Uh-huh.
And you know probably way better than I that when you are in the field, when you are in the space, when you are only in the energetic realm, there is
Yeah.
no separation. There's everything connected. And now think about this. When God, the universe, everything that is frequency, is information, is energy, that is
Mm-hmm.
not separate. And we experience separation in the material form.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, to some extent, we have everything inside of us
Yeah.
because there's no separation from everything.
Right.
It's a little bit like through which lens do you experience what is?
Right.
It's a little bit like when you operate a microscope, you can go through different layers of what you look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you are in a
Interesting.
deep meditation, when you are channeling, when you can keep up that state of mind in your everyday life and you gaze at everything,
Yeah.
you look probably out of deep love and connection to the world. and a Donald Trump or whoever might trigger you in the political world, make something up, does
Uh-huh.
not trigger you because
Right.
you are the different, you look at the world through different lenses.
Yeah.
Now you lose that state. You know, you go back to
Uh-huh.
the
You lost the
human.
state of
You make that
amusement.
human. You go back to the iceberg
Yeah.
configuration.
Right.
And then you're upset. Because then it's not anymore your higher self, your conscious part that drives your perception.
Yeah.
It is all your subconscious beliefs.
Right. Right.
That's why,
Amazing.
I work, especially in the practice, in my private practice, with many people that are really psychic, that are connected. They work with that energies.
Uh-huh.
And then there's always the confusion, but why is then in my life that situation so annoying or that? You know, because
Yeah.
sometimes for periods of time they might have kept their energy very high and the
Uh-huh.
situation was not an issue, but then they lose, for whatever reason, that the ability to keep their energy that high.
Yeah.
Then they are exposed to their perception driven from their subconscious world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
It's very
think,
interesting.
and I think too, when we keep that in mind, that we carry a lot of information inside of us, and when people are open to explore that, I think it's good when they search for tools or
Mm-hmm.
approaches that work really on that level.
Yeah.
Not many want. And when we talked earlier about unconscious stress, you don't have to go that deep.
Yeah.
I have programs and I give lectures on stress and flow.
Yeah.
And you can, in everyday life, without believing in spirituality, without, having any connection to that, by just understanding your biology and what
Mm-hmm.
habituation is and what
Mm-hmm.
thoughts are, you can improve your quality of life dramatically
Mm-hmm.
by intentionally learning, by learning how to use neuroplastic principles intentionally.
Yeah.
Every old wisdom teaching tells us it's so important to mind your thoughts.
Right.
It's, by the way, thoughts is another great word that we use so often, but few have a specific idea about it. What are thoughts? What is a thought?
Perception, I guess. Or I don't know. What's a thought?
Yeah, good question, isn't it?
It's a good question,
Technically
Nicholas.
speaking, technically speaking, a thought is an electrochemical signal between two neurons
Uh-huh.
in our brain. Now, what are neurons? Neurons are cells that look a little bit like octopus. They have a
Uh-huh.
little head where they have everything in what they need for survival, and they have arms.
Uh-huh.
And when we have a thought, they shake hands.
Uh-huh.
And you probably know this. You have an amazing new idea.
Uh-huh.
A moment after it's gone. You
Right.
forgot. You had two neurons that shook hands, but it was only short duration, and then they lost the shaking hands again.
Uh-huh.
What is learning? Learning is repeating information, vocabulary. For
Uh-huh.
example, you repeat the same thought and you have more and more neurons that shake hands.
Uh-huh.
So at some point, a thought is represented in your brain as a biological chip consisting of neurological networks.
Uh-huh.
That's learning. You
Uh-huh.
install biological chips. And again, this process is super objective.
Yeah.
Huh? Uh, being it an English vocabulary or being it a thought like, I'm not good enough.
Uh-huh.
Question is what you install up here. And the process is reversible.
Hmm.
I could not pass my PhD exam. For sure not. I forgot my Italian. Like in a gym, what muscles that we use, we gain. Muscles that we don't use, we lose.
Uh-huh.
Neurological networks that we use, we sustain.
Uh-huh.
Neurological networks that we discontinue using,
Mm-hmm.
they prune. And we can, through self-observation, become very aware about what we think in certain situations.
Yeah.
can start questioning, and there are many methodologies around it. And we can start questioning, is that thought valid? Do I want to think like that? Do I want to
Right.
feel like that in that situation? And that is self-observation. That is everyday awareness. And when you get
Hmm.
good at it, you realize what you think all day. And many people get really scared when they realize it first place. Because
Uh-huh.
out of habituation, they think really not great thoughts all day long.
Yeah.
And then it's an adult conscious act of self-creation. You can choose what thoughts do you want to install in here
Hmm.
as neurological networks. And that's a skill, and that is a very powerful skill to learn. What I do in organizations, because every problem that we have in private life or in organizations is driven by stress and stress
Hmm.
behavior.
Hmm.
But people don't want it. No one wants to be the micromanager, the one that's against change, the bad communicator. But people
Right.
are
Right.
out of unconsciousness, and you can. It's a big lever to get understand those principles, being able and learn to apply them in life. Because what you then change is not your level of consciousness, how deep you can go in a meditation,
Uh-huh.
but you elevate your everyday awareness tremendously, which allows you in everyday life to be way more conscious, and you change your automatic behavior and reactions.
Hmm.
It's a huge transition from being unconsciously very intelligent but driven by habituated reactions,
Uh-huh.
or putting yourself on the driver's seat of your everyday life.
Yeah. Oh. So you had mentioned so two things. One is when you work with clients, do you work with them online or only, I mean, do you only do in person or can you work with somebody online as well?
I can work with so this with the papers, the
Yeah.
one-on-one practice. This works online as well.
Okay.
And I just had an online session this morning, and the only difference is that the session is then split in two parts.
Uh-huh.
First part is the conversation and me feeling into the situation.
Uh-huh.
Then, if it's in person, I write the papers on site.
Uh-huh.
That, and then the person immediately stands on the papers. And when it's online, depending on the geography, I either send an email and the person has to print and
Uh-huh.
papers in
Okay.
envelope, you don't read, or
Uh-huh.
if it's in Europe, I just send the papers in envelopes.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right, so
And,
that's cool. And then you
and
were
then and
mentioning,
it works. And
I'm
it
sorry.
works. It works because even if it's online, the energetic space is there and is connected.
Yeah,
Also,
I my
I
my
we
feeling about energy work is it actually is maybe it's because I have different ideas around it, but I think it's actually stronger distance wise with people, than in person. And I mean, it just could be their mind is too engaged in the, like you were saying, like, or even the practitioner, maybe, I don't know. But distance work seems to always be like, to me it always feels more powerful. Um, but so okay, that's great. Now my other question is, so you do programs and lectures, and I know you did you say you were creating a class for the Unity group?
I have there is an biology of flow is a course program that's online with Unity. So
Okay.
I've been invited from Unity a couple of times already.
Biology
Uh,
of flow. That's cool.
the online conferences, a speaker, and because they like the content and the way how I explain it, and then
Uh-huh.
they produce the course with me. Um, I'm
So let's
actually
before
running.
we jump into that, so just because you were talking about lecturing,
Mhm.
what would you say like is like a client like who do you entertain as far as a lecture? Because I know I've seen pictures of you speaking to groups of people. Who like is there an ideal fit for a type of corporation or a type of group?
Yeah, it is generally audiences who in a corporate or public sector who different angles either want to leverage the self-leadership, resilience, creativity skill set of
Hmm.
their teams. For example, I was earlier this year invited to a leadership retreat of a big Swiss retailer.
Uh-huh.
And it was fun. Was the first time when I was simultaneously translated in a Duolingo audience,
Oh,
and
cool.
it was an interesting experience. And there it was about that lot of upcoming changes, and
Uh-huh.
they want to give people inspiration about how can they, by understanding their biology better, in a tangible way, tackle the upcoming transformation better.
Oh, cool.
I was speaking at the Next Generation event organizing by a very big bank for high-level clients of theirs, and they had
Uh-huh.
MIT professors coming in about, how to pass on, family generation wealth. And I was also talking about, again, how do we function? How are we better in everyday life?
Yeah.
Very well received. And you know
Huh.
what? On Tuesday, I do historical fencing just for fun. I talked about these principles with my fencing group
Oh, cool.
because it is the great thing about what I teach on conscious, pre-conscious level is it applies everywhere
Uh-huh.
because we think from morning till late.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the thoughts that we have lead to stress,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows health and behavior.
Right. Right.
And learning those principles and understanding them is just helpful for basically any setting that's open and wants to leverage more it sounds a little bit, marketing, but leverages more the blocked potential that people have.
Yeah.
Also in management, think about, and I worked 15 years in corporate up to executive management positions,
Uh-huh.
and you get a lot of great training, but it's
Mm-hmm.
great training you get on the conscious level.
Right.
You learn skill sets, how to manage better, how to do forecasting, how to do market development, and it's an analytical learning.
Yeah.
And the biggest challenges that we see in businesses is not because people are not intelligent enough.
Uh-huh.
It is about the handbrakes that they have and the limits they have and the limit how they limit themselves through their automated stress response.
Uh-huh.
Now, I've worked a lot in run a lot of projects as well. And company was well structured, but what's usually happening, you know, the majority of people go to work and they want to work. They want to have a good
Yeah.
day. Huh?
Yeah.
And then they come to a point where, I don't know, they need to, something's stressing them. They need to address something, something's not going well, or they need to say, we need more money or more time or whatever.
Yeah.
This is usually the moment where people start creating a problem,
Oh,
start creating a story, and this is not good, and we can't do this, and we can't do that.
right.
Really happening is that the person is triggered and has no skills to deal with this emotional challenge.
Okay. Yeah.
And a lot of money is spent in organizations and in private then to cope with the mess that's been created out of that unresolved or not well handled emotional situation.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
And
I
a
see
lot
it.
of also in the therapeutic world or resilience world, it's a lot about treating symptoms. A
Uh-huh.
lot of stress management workshops are around, okay, when you feel stressed, go have a breath, go out, try to behave differently. But that's
Yeah.
treatment of.
Right. Right.
And when you picture your day, you basically go through your day and you are every moment in your life, it's a bifurcation in the road. Do you stay in flow or do you go in stress?
Yeah.
Parasympathetic nervous system, sympathetic nervous system. And when you learn to work with your biology in a very tangible way, then you stay way more on the stress road, on the flow road.
Yeah.
So you don't have to manage the downstream outcomes of stress.
Right.
And that's super cool
Yeah.
because it's like you don't need the aspirin because you don't have a headache.
Yeah. That's cool.
And that's an
That's really
awareness
cool.
game. That's why I differentiate between, consciousness, that's for me really the sacred world of consciousness work,
Uh-huh.
and everyday awareness.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Very Eckhart Tolle like.
Yeah, Catholic is yes, and I'm not an expert in Eckhart Tolle, and it's I just recently listened to a presentation of him, and he is from that what I learned there, and he is very authentic in living that. Absolutely being aware and present with what is happening in between of what you perceive.
Yeah.
That is great way of being. And
Yeah.
I wish that more people are in that present and aware state. And
Hmm.
I'd say what I described is a little bit, it comes a little bit early on the development road
Yeah.
because it's good for people who have a lot of thoughts and fast thoughts.
Hmm.
And then you can learn to become more aware of them and uninstall and reinstall. You know
Yeah.
what I said earlier with the octopus and the
Yeah. Yeah.
nets.
Yeah.
And what I
That's cool.
experience when people do that, and I never have, medical or health claims, but when people are less stressed in everyday life, guess what's
Hmm.
happening? Health is improving, their presence is improving, they have
Right.
more time, and the quality of their relationship improves.
Yeah.
Why? Because they are more present.
Right.
That opens the door to even slow down more,
Yeah.
which in our modern society, I think, again, a very personal decision.
Uh-huh.
Conscious, preconscious, neuroplastic toolbox.
Uh-huh.
And it's okay. He has no need to go, deeper.
Hmm.
His life improved so much, his relationship with his wife, with the kids, and that's okay. It's okay for
Yeah.
him. And he lives a very active life, very happy, very self fulfilled. And yeah, it's always a decision how deep you want to go.
Right. I know I've kept you a long time here. Before we close, like, do you want to talk a little bit about this biology of flow and any other things you're writing or classes or anything that you know that you'd want to share about uh the work you're doing in that area?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, to summarize, the biology of flow is, unity is a for me, I'm still early in my third career.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I reached my destination because now everything what I did and learned and experienced and lived through sums up to what I can do today.
Mm-hmm.
And the cooperation with Unity for me was, of course, great because when you start something new, you don't have a broad audience, right? I have a good network in the wound care space in the States where I built a business, but
Yeah.
not necessarily in the self-development world. So I was
Uh-huh.
very grateful for that Unity, like the way how I teach things.
Mm-hmm.
And this is in the biology of flow, it is all about tools that you can use for yourself in everyday life. And I go way more into detail in that course, explaining, the neuroplastic principles. There's a lot of everyday situations to make it tangible
Uh-huh.
because all of what, at the end, on this level, conscious, pre-conscious level, we need to do it in our lives. We can
Right.
prepare, understanding helps, but we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a little tool that helps working with emotions
Uh-huh.
because there is very easy ways how you can work with emotions when they come up in a constructive way, when they come up in everyday life.
Uh-huh.
Usually people want to push them away or analyze it. Neither
Yeah.
approach is good. Neither approach is good.
Right.
Uh, and there's simple tools that you can use that help you in that moment when you are in that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's very important because, again, it's like a little kid that felt and is crying.
Yeah.
That is basically what's happening inside of us when an emotion comes up.
Right.
And we need to I think, treated with compassion and presence,
Yeah.
not with neglection and analysis.
Right. Right.
Um, that is biology of flow, but I also offer this program in different formats as workshops or as online courses for corporations or private audience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in my presentations, being it in a rather academic setting or in a corporate setting, I also talk about those principles. It's basically how deep you want to, how tangible you want to make it, how interactive you want to make it, and how, and this is the difference for really the courses that I offer,
Mm-hmm.
how much follow-up is there? Because when
Yeah.
you teach courses, the skill set of applying neuroplastic principles is something that you learn it, you understand it. It's super simple, kids understand it. You don't
Mm-hmm.
need to have a PhD for that. But like everything you learn, the tricky part starts when you start applying it, when you start
Mm-hmm.
integrating it. Then your real questions come. You
Mm-hmm.
can read a book about archery. It sounds all simple and easy and logical, but then I hand you a bow, and then the questions start. And that's a very basic principle of learning. And I think many people that read great self-help books stumble exactly there because the theory is simple, but the application is very individual.
Yeah.
And in my courses, I have at least 4 follow-up sessions over the course of a month to
Mm-hmm.
exactly help people. And what I observe there is at the beginning, the learning curve is the steepest, then
Uh-huh.
people get it, and then it becomes a skill by itself.
Uh-huh. Well, that's cool.
And and I told you earlier, everything what I do with clients, I do or did with myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through that learning curve, and yeah, that's also know where you can stumble and struggle.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, so I have one other question. Because the film we started, Revelation of You, was around crystals and bringing crystals into the field. And I explored that because I brought crystals into my mother's life celebration and funeral and saw these connections with her and the crystals and her friends and my friends and stuff. So I noticed you wear this bracelet with
This one,
yeah, with some crystals on it. So I wanted to ask you about that.
actually, I just like it. I just, there's no bigger meaning. It's bigger meaning that comes with it.
Okay. All right.
It's
Well, it's cool. It's got some really nice stones on it.
yeah, yeah, and
And it
it's
looks like it's got
like
some
symbols for
lava
the
on
seven
it.
chakras, and it's like
Yeah.
it's a bracelet that the people that I do the constellations with wear. So it's like kind of
Oh, okay. That's cool.
um, me personally, when you look at all the things that you can do with energy, I occasionally I do energetic healing as well.
Oh, cool.
But but when I a couple of years ago really started understanding the psychic world better,
Uh-huh.
I went like it's also a skill. Some people have natural access,
Uh-huh.
or some people get it through often very traumatizing experiences.
Right.
And but when I understood and I was not super open, I sat there and I practiced my intuition. I tried to channel. And at some point I went like, okay, let me think about this. I know that I'm a spiritual being,
Uh-huh.
I'm myself, my soul on a different level.
Yeah.
And I chose for whatever wicked reasons to make this human experience. Now I
Yeah.
sit here in my human existence and I spend my limited human time in
Uh-huh.
trying to connect back to what I am already. So, okay, maybe I take a different approach.
Uh-huh.
And it's a very conscious decision. Maybe why do I not start paying attention to my everyday triggers? As I
Uh-huh.
said earlier, to see how much through transforming those triggers I can manifest love in this existence.
Oh. Uh-huh.
And maybe for me, this is more the way to go rather than to pushing a connection that is there, or the perception of a connection that is anyway there, by
Mm-hmm.
means maybe not the way how I should, the route that I should take right now.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, I got way more relaxed, with crystals, with connecting, and
Uh-huh.
I really let go of that and started focusing on how I perceive my world more.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with the tools I described, you know, the tools you can do for your self-conscious, pre-conscious level, or seeing my mentor, standing on papers, doing constellations, working on the subconscious world,
Yeah.
to pursue this strategy, if you will, to see where it leads to.
Right.
What what is what is then manifested from that level of my existence.
Yeah.
And I do meditations, and I have my moments, and I feel my team, but it's hard for it, That's,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I love it. I love the subject. I love the people to do it. That's way more natural for them. I think that's also the beauty, we're 8 billion people, all have the same golden inner core.
Yeah.
It's not one person that is worse or less than another.
Yeah. Yeah.
One different
Yeah.
method of trauma.
It's interesting, like with the crystals, it's some of these things are just doors to other things, right? And the there's a lot of stuff around crystals, but basically this film project took me down a rabbit hole, to really talking about what consciousness is, because we didn't see just changes with crystals. We saw it reading, the prayer in the beginning was the word, the person's field exploded like before and after to uh you know uh heirlooms, just gold, like all these different things. Now, in some cases, there wasn't a resonance, there wasn't a change, but then it really gets into this whole idea, like you said, with you were talking about cellular resonance. So this film is just like it kind of touches on this whole idea of consciousness, and we get into a discussion around the blueprint of humanity, and the blueprint being in the DNA, and the resonance of things we bring in our field, how it resonates in our cells, which gets back to lineage, and the whole idea around how we talk to ourselves around the I am. So it kind of like is one of those rabbit holes, Nicholas, like you were talking about, that started with something like with the crystal that I thought would be kind of similar, that I was just really curious about, like, could crystals really change your field? And it's like there's a
I
resonance around everything, and
I think
they're
everything
different. Huh?
I think everything can. And the
Yeah.
question is, who creates your personal perception of your life? And I think that's always the individual.
Yeah.
You are connected with the source,
Yeah.
and it comes from within you. Now,
Yeah.
healing, working with crystals. I have super filtered water at home that is
Yeah.
energized and revitalized. All material components and immaterial components carry information.
Right.
And can, of course, it makes sense that when you have information, meaning frequency, that you have an energetic field when it overlays another field, a person, sick person, or person with a trauma, then those fields interfere. And when you have a lot of good crystal energy, it makes
Uh-huh.
sense that this good crystal energy improves, meaning making it more harmonic improves that field of that person. No, I'm outside of my comfort zone. It's just what I'm thinking. Not However, and I observed this a couple of times, not through my work, but through people who heal way more energetically. You can heal a person energetically or improve the state.
Uh-huh.
But then it can be very well that when you discontinue the treatment or the exposure to the orderly energy, to the helpful energy, the improvement is lost. And I think my take on this is in that case, the root source of the disease,
Uh-huh.
English language is here great. German language disease is not as good because either we're at ease or disease.
Uh-huh.
When more order is created, we can shift disease to ease. But when we are the root source of the disease, and we take away the external supportive source of energy,
Uh-huh.
then it helps shifting from disease to ease.
Uh-huh.
The shift is reverted.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I mean, I'm gotten to the place now where I know that I feel like we're mostly energy. And so um and to me, we're always in control. So even though you may like on some level get support for healing yourself or whatever, like if there's some part of you that has a huge resistance to that or is ready for something else. I mean, it could, I don't know, like uh it's like how people go to treatment and they get cancer treatment and then they're cancer free, but then it comes back or whatever, right? Like on some
Like,
level, that energetic, whatever it was that caused it initially, probably didn't get healed. And so that's what we're learning more and more about all that stuff, right? Yeah. And yeah, and there are different ways of, to me, kind of perceiving a lot of this stuff. But like we even did, because you and I are both Dr. Joe Dispenza fans, and we did a Dr. Joe Dispenza breath meditation with some friends in Del Mar. We did before and after pictures of their energy field, and then we all did his like 7-minute guided breath meditation, and everyone's field shifted huge,
mhm.
you know? And so it wasn't a object, or anything that came into the field to do that, because it's all anyways, just I find it all really fascinating. And I love the fact that you're intuitive and guided and bringing in stuff too when you work with people or how are all the different ways you're creating, you know?
Thank you. And
Um,
what you just said circles exactly back to how we kind of started with the different levels of consciousness.
yeah,
You know, I know that we are basically only energy.
yeah.
You know it, right? Now, okay, go through your arm, move one. Yeah, you laugh. You know that your energy should be easy. But even if we know it, in our human form, we don't believe it. We don't
Right,
perceive reality like that.
right.
And when we talk about Joe Dispenza has also two branches of his work. One is the very deep meditations, going into
Yeah.
nothing. The other one is talking about everyday life, and it's different ballparks.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are really good in going into nothing,
Mm-hmm.
then you can work in that nothingness,
Mm-hmm.
and you can, because the material component is a projection from the field, you can change information in the field to influence matter.
Right.
Then you come back from your meditation. You're not nobody and nothing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You are Rita. You are Nicholas. The moment you are back in the body, different rules apply.
Right.
Your perception is then your creation of reality is from then on again mainly driven by your subconscious beliefs and patterns.
Right. Right.
You can only observe partially the ones on the preconscious level.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had many conversations around that because I think you have two main strategies. Either you say, okay, I get more to the field, I want to create more from the field.
Mm-hmm.
Or, and this is what especially when doing more meditation didn't work,
Uh-huh.
is okay, maybe it would be great to not. put your foot more on the gas pedal doing the meditation,
Uh-huh.
but take it away from the brakes. Meaning, work on your subconscious beliefs that counteract without you knowing and without you wanting what you want to create from your meditation.
Right. Right. Yeah.
The outcome that you see, the combined outcome, because we cannot not create
Hmm.
24/7, whether we're in the field or in 3D.
Yeah.
The outcome of our combined manifestation efforts is called life, perception of our life.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. We covered a lot of areas, Nicholas. Thank you.
I
Yeah.
thank you. How many hours did we talk? I hope this wasn't absolutely. I was very present. I lost any track of time and space. I was fully there with you,
No,
and
it
it
was
wasn't.
great. It was great. Is there anything like that you'd like to so I'm going to leave so below here on the share that our interview share, I'll have information about you and contact information and things like that. Is there anything you feel like you want to that we didn't cover, or there's something that you'd like to share that for anyone out there that's maybe where you were when you were looking around going, I don't feel all that happy right now, and I'm responsible for my happiness, and so where do I go to look to figure this out?
I'm very approachable. And when people visit my website, there is a lot, have a chat with me because I understand that every situation is very individual.
Hmm.
And what I said earlier, 8 billion people, all the same, golden heart, but different levels of consciousness and trauma. And one thing that I would like to give to the audience, or say to the audience, is because I was stuck there many times. I was stuck in 3 psychotherapies because I thought that's the right thing to do. And psychotherapy might be a good tool.
Yeah.
But whatever you do right now, when you do self-development, it should show an effect. Don't stay stuck for too long with an approach that you
Hmm.
might thought is good, but it doesn't show an outcome.
Right. Okay. That's good
Because
advice.
it's really from psychopharmaca to family constellations to energy healing to crystals, whatever. So,
Yeah.
there are so many approaches out there.
Green juice. Yeah.
And it's just I encourage people, especially when they are stuck and when they tried already things, to try something different.
Yeah.
And I hope it came across clear that different levels of consciousness, or different tools work on different levels of consciousness.
Yeah.
Meditation, field level, analytical mind, uh, therapy in which you talk, conscious level.
Yeah.
No, when you start with visualization, applied neuroplasticity, what I do in my courses, that's conscious, pre-conscious level. You
Uh-huh.
go really deeper. And then work with the body, how I work in my practice, family constellation, deep hypnosis, they work on the subconscious level.
Yeah.
I think that, you know,
Cool.
I encourage people to keep that in mind as well, that they can make a more conscious and informed decision on they know how to put it in context.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. So thank you so much,
Thank you.
Nicholas. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure
Yeah.
and honor. And
Yes.
everyone who's listening, thanks for hanging in. That almost 2 hours that we're recording is enough.
Yeah. All right. So
Great.
I'm gonna end the recording and then we can say goodbye. Yeah.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you all for hanging in here and feel free to I think Nicholas has even a free consult, right, on your site? Yeah. Yeah. See if it's the right might be the right fit for you.